Finally, we are on air. Yes, now we are on the digital week. We are online. Dunstan Tio, as co-founder and chief architect of FIDE Protocol, he's going to be moderator of this event. Let's go ahead. The stage is yours.
Hi everyone. Hi, I'm Dunstan. I'm the chief architect of FIDO Protocol. This is a very private and secret project, which is why we kind of don't really send and do too much information or marketing regarding our project right now. Yeah, here we have four esteemed panelists. We have Carl over here, and we have Sergey. We have Danielle. Yeah, and definitely. Wait, we have another Sergey, right? Both of you are
We
Sergey.
got two.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, that's why I have mentioned me. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So okay, this is confusing. Okay, hi. Today our topic is this. We are talking about constructing a comprehensive blockchain ecosystem. Technically, this would be my first question to everyone. Actually, what do you think is a comprehensive blockchain ecosystem? Can we have Carl first? What do you think?
So it's a good question. I think a comprehensive blockchain ecosystem means, when you've thought about all the different synergistic parties or counterparties or parties involved to make sure that because this is the thing, right? When people get involved that don't have okay, let me back up. For myself, I would consider myself an expert generalist in the space because I've been in it for a long time and I've done a lot of different things, and so I see how by doing one thing it affects something entirely different in the ecosystem. And a lot of people don't see that because they just come in and focus on one thing, but they have no idea, and they usually make the assumption that that this ecosystem can translate directly from Finance 1.0 or traditional systems 1.0. However, it's much different. So I think a comprehensive ecosystem means you have proper infrastructure and you have proper security and you have proper self-regulating organizations and you've got these things and you've got proper infrastructure built up and grandma friendly and you have basically all the different facets that are necessary for the space to develop healthy and in a way that people don't get hurt.
Okay, understood. What about you, Sergey?
Well, I think that first of all, in the blockchain ecosystem, there has to be players, people who participate, people who develop components for the system, and they have to be properly rewarded. So the protocol has to be designed in such a way that there are people who participate. But in order to get people to participate, you have to have some kind of a marketing and ongoing community involvement going on. So you have to also consider that. So it's not just the technology, it's not just the token issues and fundraising and trading, but also people who participate. So it's a community.
Definitely. What about you, Danielle?
Basically, I think that I agree with the guy because I think, first of all, sorry for my English. I come from Italy. You are smiling, but I'm very difficult because I'm not used to speak in English every day. What I think is that we have a little problem in the world now. I tell you why. Because a lot of people is looking for blockchain just for cryptocurrencies. And I think that we need to make a big action to inform people that blockchain is not just cryptocurrencies, but for this it's important to build a comprehensive blockchain system, ecosystem where people can see the real potential of blockchain for safety, security, based on the centralized system. Otherwise, we are continuing to use blockchain just for cryptocurrency trading with speculation, and I think that is very stupid for this. Because the real potential of blockchain is the technology that could be used for public register, for a lot of things that now we are not using. And for this, I'm working on.
Okay, understood. So, my own thoughts on blockchain, a comprehensive blockchain ecosystem is this. I think what is happening is most of the blockchain startups in the world actually don't know what they're getting themselves into. Put it this way, when they set up their blockchain or when they start creating their own tokens, most of them don't even have an understanding that tokenomics are involved. They don't have an understanding of how exchanges and market makers work. They don't have an understanding of how good marketing and PR work. Now, and let's not just talk about those. What about public and private funding? Most of them have very little access, and they believe that if I do an STO or an ICO, I would already have access to public and private funding. But that generally isn't true, because what they actually have is is access to a group of traders actually, and that actually gives them quite a lot of problems regarding their fundraising mechanisms. And if the exchanges are on their side, that's another problem. So when it comes to a comprehensive blockchain ecosystem, right, we need exchanges to support. We need incubators to support. We need funds, VC funds. We need communities, like what you're saying, the public to support. We need mentors in the space to support, but mentors in the space is extremely difficult to find. Either they are elusive, or the ones are actually very public about it are not generally mentors. They are good marketers. Yeah, so this is just some general thoughts that we have regarding that. Yeah, so maybe I'd like to go along to this part of the questions. I would be a bit more sensitive regarding the questions to ask you all. So I'm gonna go to Sergey first. Sergey, you have a blockchain project, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you're the CTO of a blockchain project. Can you do a short 1-minute introduction about the project itself?
Sure. The project is a marketplace, a decentralized marketplace that connects radiologists, imaging centers, and AI companies in the United States. It's built on blockchain for decentralization and recording of all financial transactions that happen between the parties. And MDW, as a platform, takes a fee on every image interpretation that goes through the system.
Okay, understood. So it's more of a marketplace for radiologists then. So okay, this one is pretty simple. Now, so this is where I would be going into the whole ecosystem. Now, do you believe that what you are building is a full-fledged blockchain ecosystem?
Yes, definitely.
Can you elaborate more on that?
Sure. Well, it's essentially, we take all the participants. So there is imaging center that takes a scan, like a CT or an MRI or ultrasound scan of a patient, and then delivers it to the marketplace. So any number of radiologists can bid to interpret that and get paid for interpretation. And then the report is returned and money is moved from wallet to wallet. So that's totally complete participation here. And radiologists are not just interpreters and participants, but they're also investors. When we issue the security token that underlying the whole thing, radiologists will invest in the platform by buying the tokens, and then they will get bonuses on every interpretation they do on the platform. And that will help bring more business onto the platform. So it's like a virtuous cycle. The more business comes in, the more money they make, the more business they bring in.
Okay, understood. I'm gonna ask. Technically, I'm gonna ask the other two participants regarding the medical blockchain that Sergey has over here. So, Carl, can I ask you, what do you think? Do you think that this is a full, complete blockchain ecosystem, or or maybe give some feedback on what can be done to improve that?
Mute button.
You're muted.
Yes,
Carl,
you're talking with me?
No, Kyle.
Das.
Carl.
Sorry. Okay. So I just want to ask a question first. What is it? Why is a token necessary versus something of just paying with Bitcoin or fiat or something of this nature?
There are actually two tokens. One is the payment, the stable coin of $1 that kind of underlies the fees, and the security token represents ownership in the platform, rather ownership in the revenue stream of the platform.
Is a first token would you call it a utility token then?
Yeah. No. Well, it's actually a stable coin.
Okay, so this is a private blockchain.
Yes.
Okay.
It's built on Ethereum for the token, but essentially this will move into a private blockchain for the consortium. Correct.
And what's the reason for it being on a blockchain? Is it just transparency of payments and things like that, or what?
Precisely, and we record. It's actually medical information. So and also the industry is very competitive. So participants will not deliver their business to somebody who doesn't show them how the whole marketplace works within, what the prices are, and so forth. So they want a full audit, and only blockchain can provide that easily.
Why did you decide to go private versus public blockchain?
Because in the end, it's a B2B marketplace. So people that participate there are actually, registered companies and individuals. So there is no need for public participation, and public blockchain puts a lot of strain in terms of performance and how this whole thing will actually operate in production. So it's a lot better to control their underlying infrastructure.
And what kind of fees are being charged from the company for this service?
Depending on the transaction, depending on what exactly is going on, but it varies from like 5% to 20%, depending on whether marketplace matches radiologists with centers, or centers bring their own onto the platform. So it's variable.
Okay, I guess when it comes down to private blockchains, I don't have a lot of I can't critique very much, because it's really, you're talking about some databases, right? So, and a traditional model.
But there will be participants between, say, insurance companies can participate in that and pay disbursements to imaging centers for tests performed. So it's actually going to be, the more business is conducted there, the more other types of participants will participate. But it's an enterprise blockchain in a sense, not public coin or public platform.
Okay, this is where I would like to butt in and ask something else, actually, because you see, right, Sergey, you did talk about this being a private blockchain and an enterprise level blockchain, right? So why do you have that idea that, like enterprise level blockchains are private blockchains?
Well, it actually, I think, we don't know, it's a hypothesis, but the participants in the blockchain would want it to be private. They will want to become validators on the blockchain, the insurance companies and large hospitals and centers, because they want to make sure that they don't control, but they ensure that it's all done fair and without ability to change things, and somebody controlling it. That's
wouldn't that invalidate the basic use of a trustless network, a network in which the public, in which even the players, the community, the users can trust? Because if it's gonna be a private blockchain, I think this is where there might be a potential misunderstanding. Maybe not on your side, but it's just on like our industry branding and marketing tension, actually. Public blockchains, maybe we talk about the most common ones out there. I understand that you did say that they will put a strain on the network itself. Most probably it would be a cost, and most probably it would be transaction speeds and so on. It could also be consensus mechanisms like EOS, for instance, right? So I bet that you all have gone through quite a bit of iterations and blockchains regarding this, but that does not necessarily mean that a private blockchain is a better choice than a public blockchain, actually, because the main gist of having a blockchain is more of a trustless ecosystem.
Yes, of course.
Correct. it is about building a trustless ecosystem, right? So if that's the case, right, any private blockchain immediately becomes a trusted ecosystem.
Oh, maybe here we have a different, I guess, branding and naming.
Right.
Private does not necessarily mean that one company controls it. Private and enterprise, in this sense, means that only limited number of participants participate in it, and actually, in addition to that, there's more than one, or much more than one party with conflicting interests. So let's say 5 insurance companies, health insurance companies, decide to build their own blockchain to validate claims, and all of them are competitors, all 5, and they all fight for the market shares. Neither one trusts each other, but what they want to have is for any particular geography, to make sure that any provider of healthcare submits claims to that blockchain, and all of them concede at the same time and validate that that indeed is a valid claim for something performed. So that is the point of private blockchain versus like one company controlled to a consortia controlled. So joint interest, but not same interest.
Okay, understood. What about you then? I know that you have a project that technically you are talking about. You have this thing called a DT coin. Am I correct?
Yeah, DT coin is correct. DT coin basically is a coin where the value is supported by big data generated by the user. I'm hearing what the guys were saying, and I think that for me, for example, when a user is generating big data during the navigation on web, and I need in my system to redistribute a part of the value of the big data generated for the users, I need a decentralized system for privacy and security. Imagine, for example, anytime you go on Facebook or Google, and as you can see by yourself, if you search something on Google, after just a few minutes, you can see the promotional post on Facebook, because Google already sold the data to Facebook. What I'm doing is this. In my ecosystem, using my tools, when people go online and is releasing a lot of big data every day, these big data are sold to the company that need this big data to buy, that are obligated to buy it using my coin. And a part of the value is redistributed to the member of the community that is generating this data. For this, I developing a decentralized blockchain in quorum based. Quorum, as you know, is a part of Ethereum system, and I am creating a new concept that we named the crypto ID. What is the crypto ID? And for this, I'm curious about medical information of the guy.
Okay, so this is a question that I'd like to shoot to you actually, Daniel.
Because through the crypto ID is imagine like a box where you can put inside all your data information, but under the cryptography of blockchain in a decentralized system. So you can be sure that all your data are not public or easy to read, of course. And I think.
Can I ask you, Daniel?
Sorry.
Yeah. I'd like to ask you one question actually.
Yeah.
Why is it that you have chosen to use Quorum?
Quorum because it's more faster and more green. I tell you why. To analysis and form big data, we need, of course, a big capacity of data storage. Quorum is very, very fast. If you think that can have around 10,000 transactions per second, and if you think that in my system the transactions are not just coins but are data storage in a crypto ID for any user, it's very important that it be very, very fast. Also, quorum-based is very green because the energy power you need to work is very
minimal in that sense. Yeah, why not use Storage, Filecoin, or Datum?
Why? Sorry?
Why not use Storage, Filecoin, or Datum in when it comes to choosing your blockchain infrastructure actually? Because it does look like based on of your website and your data that you have provided, it does look like these three are a better fit rather than Quorum. To be honest, the only benefit that Quorum has to your current infrastructure is actually just transaction speeds, which does not necessarily correlate to storing of data and picking up the data record time actually, because the architecture
Yes, but
is
you
not
have to
suitable
understand
for that.
No, but I want to explain you that we were starting with the base of Quorum, and we developed a new blockchain system named Quared with a new concept of consensus, for example. And this because it was necessary to build the what I'm trying to telling you, that is the crypto ID, and you have to imagine the crypto ID like an identity card for any data you are generating every day online. So for this, we are using our technology Quared, the decentralized system based on Quorum, because my developer saw in this the real opportunity to have this crypto ID concept.
Okay, understood. Okay, Carl, I'm actually going back to you. I know that you have built quite a lot of interesting infrastructures, actually, like an incubator sort of infrastructure, accelerator, lifestyle, a cryptocurrency style sort of place. You have built a an exchange aggregator, correct?
Yeah.
And these are your two main, Carl. So these are your two main stuff, right, Carl? So would like to ask you regarding your blockchain ecosystem. I'm not talking about the blockchain itself, or you like. I'm not talking about your architecture, any blockchain architecture, or even the architecture of your itself, Carl. I'm actually asking you more of a full-fledged ecosystem for the blockchains, and I think that is your main and biggest passion right now.
Yeah. So yeah, so I not exactly sure what your question is, Dunstan, but I guess yeah, the two different things. I mean, I've been building blockchain things since 2013, and started with the world's first Bitcoin-based lottery. That was basically just a public live physical lottery that we did twice a week on YouTube. Where all the payments were accepted and paid out to Bitcoin. And then I went on to build Credits, which was a built from scratch blockchain protocol, which had public and private enterprise interoperability. And right now we're working on blockchain adoption, and so it's infrastructure, and not protocol infrastructure, but more like highways and parks and power plants of world infrastructure, right? So there's two major aspects, right? One of them is House of DAO, which you're referring to at first, which is this, blockchain and crypto focused co-working, co-living, incubating hub community, and the goal, I call them power plants actually, because the goal it really is to facilitates and harness and supports new projects to be born there and accelerated and incubated that are very disruptive. And I think right, we just saw Russia, with this proposed law of banning cryptocurrencies, and they've been back and forth for years now, right? But I've always told people there's going to be a day when we essentially go to war, because the people who have held all the power in the world they've for a long time they kind of thought of this crypto and blockchain thing as something that would probably go away one day, and now they're starting to realize that it's not going away, and it's really, really threatening their power, right? And their fiat systems, monetary systems, governance systems. And so I've always said that, there's going to be a day when they're going to push back hard, and we saw that in a way in 2017. We had the bull market, which it was overinflated and overbought, but we had the CME come out and legalize the futures of Bitcoin in order to allow shorts to happen, because they said we needed something to tame the market, and that's what happened basically, right? This is why we had all the short sellers come in, short the market, and that was the end of 2017 bull run. And you also started hearing this messaging coming in saying, like ICOs are dead, STOs are the new thing. And that's a very specific messaging, right? That whole thing is coordinated. Basically what they're saying is, hey, crowdfunding's okay, but what's not okay is doing something without asking for permission first, right? That's exactly the only difference between an STO and an ICO, is that an STO, you have to get permission to do it first, pay your taxes, and make sure it's not too disruptive, And so this was very, very carefully architected messaging that was implemented into everybody's brain, and I think it went largely unnoticed. People just kind of, went on to, you started hearing this thing, and then you also heard blockchain, not Bitcoin, blockchain, not crypto. And I think that this is what could happen if we don't have a massive amount of disruptive technology coming out that doesn't allow these banks and authorities to get ahead of things. So the idea of House of DAO really is to create 20 or 30 of these communities, long-term living communities around the world, where people are, it's also creating that incubation center, not just for projects that we're incubating, but also creating that conference-like environment 24/7, 365, where you can come and you can stay for a month, you can stay for 2 weeks, you can stay for a lifetime, but you're going to constantly be surrounded by people in the industry who can leverage their networks and things like that. But let's say that we have 20 of these things in the coolest spots in the world, and all 20 of them are putting out 5 projects a year. So now you have 100 projects that are being produced just from House of DAO network that are all disruptive. And the goal would be to really have so much useful disruptive technology coming out that it would be impossible for the authorities and the regulators and the central bankers and things like this to get ahead of it and put out this messaging that really distracts us from what we're really trying to do. And I with House of DAO, there's more to it. It's a really interesting, ambitious, long-term goal. When I really believe that we need to start from the ground up, and we think the systems that we grew up with, people in the large part seem to be not very happy with being adults and things like that. And so it has a lot to going in with raising families and education and different ways of living and different mental programming from childhood. And things like being an architect of your own life and things like that, right? Things that I think everyone in this space probably already understands, but some people in the old world haven't really caught on to this yet. So that's House of DAO, and then Crypto Exchange Alliance, and House of DAO is my passion project, and this is something that will be ran eventually with a DAO structure. Ran on, I'm not sure. Right now it's completely blockchain agnostic. I have no idea what we'll put it on at some time, but it will be a DAO structure. There will be a token economy. There'll be, plenty of use cases for it within this ecosystem. There'll be the governance is almost one of the most interesting things about it, right? Because, it's the Bitcoin approach at a new world. It's showing people that there's a different way to live life, and where you've got transparency, you've got voting on blockchain, you've got different types of voting mechanisms. Maybe each different House of DAO location has its own government with one government who oversees it all, but maybe the individual governments are allowed to kind of like the states have their own states. Maybe it's run like that. I don't know. We'll see. But it's the alternative way of the way that the world has been running. And if it's interesting enough to people, maybe it'll be something that is adopted by masses. I don't know. But that's a passion project, and I would love to have everybody come involved and get, whoever's interested in helping, participating. It's something that really, the more the merrier kind of thing. And the other project is I'm doing it because that's the thing that's going to finance everything, and that's solving a major problem in the space, which is, the lack of liquidity with exchanges. And why that's such a big problem is, one, we really need to mature the space. And right now, with all of this, the biggest negative publicity that comes out of blockchain is the damage that's caused to, retail traders and individuals from mostly exchanges, hacks, thefts, cons, frauds, Mt. Goxes, Quadrigas, hacks, things like that. And it's because these exchanges aren't following best practices, right? And we need to solve their major pain points before we can get them to follow best practices. And so what we're working on is solving the biggest pain point, which is liquidity. And so that's explanation of both projects.
Definitely, those two really sound interesting also, and I feel that at the end of the day, this is what we mean by a blockchain ecosystem. We need VCs, we need funding, we need exchanges to support, we need projects, we need users, we need community to support, we need mentors, accelerators. So technically, a blockchain ecosystem is not just about the protocol, or it's not just about individual projects actually. And honestly, what I see that's missing right now is interoperability between the different blockchains. Everybody wants to build a different blockchain. They want to build. They don't want to use somebody else's service. They don't want to use. They don't even want to cooperate. And with that, right, it's extremely difficult to build a proper ecosystem when there's no cooperation. It's all about competition, actually. So, closing this panel, what I want the audience to actually understand is this. Blockchain is actually a trustless system, but more importantly, it actually allows us to find ways to corroborate, to collaborate together, and to work together actually, to form a full, complete ecosystem. And that is something that I hope the public actually sees, the projects panel actually sees, and that new collaborations can be formed from this. Yeah, thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Yes.
Thank
Nice
you,
to
guys.
meet all of you here. Yes, my pleasure. And now we have to end this session and go ahead. Thanks a lot. Yes, nice to meet you again.
Thanks to you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you guys.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.